Hi everyone, welcome back to Cooking with the Authors. So today we are going to make strawberry jam, and this is a fun recipe to make. The first thing you want to do is make sure you clean your fruit. And case in point, I've already done our strawberries, but look at that water. Ew! Yeah, that is just pure nasty. That came out of cleaning 2 containers, large containers of strawberries. So, alright, our strawberries are washed and our jars have already been washed and sterilized. That's another important thing to do. Sterilize your jars. Put them in boiling water for a few minutes. Make sure they're good and sterile. And we get started right now with the fruit. Okay, so our first step is we need 4 cups of crushed strawberries. So we're going to start slicing these. And I always cut the top off and then cut them into smaller pieces because it makes mashing them easier, and that's what you're going to end up doing. So once you get 4 cups, then we're ready for the next step. All right, we've got all of our berries chopped up, and the next thing we need to do is mash them. Now, I forgot to say at the beginning of this video that I use the freezer recipe for the jam. We do not do the cooked jam. I have done the cooked jam in the past, but I prefer the freezer jam because it tastes fresh. You can get it, it's fantastic. So let's get busy mashing up these berries. Lady V, I'm gonna have you come in here and help in just a moment. Personally, this is the fun part to me. Yeah, mashing everything. It needs the sound effects when you can make them yourself. Very true. As we mash these, we're going to transfer them over to a big bowl. Juice and all.
We are being supervised by the wonderful Mr. Guardian, who loves to sit out here while we're working in the kitchen. You learned how to make jam? It's smelling good, isn't it? He's fascinated by Alice mushing out all the strawberries.
Alright, now that our strawberries are ready, they're all smashed up and in a bowl, we're going to come over here to our stove, and according to the Sure-Gel instructions, and this is what we're going to be using, you need 3 cups of sugar. And by the way, I forgot to say, but this is for use in less or no sugar needed. We use the less sugar because the original recipe calls for an insane amount of sugar that is just not needed. So my family prefers the taste of the lesser sugar because it's still, strawberries are sweet, you don't need all that sugar. So even with the less sugar, you're still going to need 3 cups of sugar in this recipe. So we're going to add the 3 cups of sugar in the pan and then the package of Sure-Gel. Now, how I console myself on this much sugar is the fact that I make this recipe once a year. It lasts my family the entire year. I give a bunch away to neighbors and friends, and so I'm not really consuming 3 cups of sugar, and that's how I justify it. Alright, we're going to add in our package of Sure-Gel. Alright, and we're going to go ahead, we're going to stir that, but we're also going to get this burner on. And once these 2 dry ingredients are mixed, you're going to add 1 cup of water. You're going to bring this to a boil. Once it starts boiling, let it boil for 1 minute. Alright, we've got the sugar mixture boiling. And we're going to let this boil for 1 minute and then remove from heat, and we're going to add in the strawberries. Alright, our sugar mixture is done, our fruit is done, and it's time to combine the 2. And then we get to fill our jars. Just give this a little bit of a mix, and it is done, and it's ready to fill in the jars. Or fill the jars, rather. For our jars, some of you may recognize these. These are little baby food jars. I have 2 cats who absolutely love beef and ham and chicken and turkey baby food, and they get it as a treat about once a week. And I save the jars throughout the year, clean them good, and sterilize them and use them for jam. So I also have regular canning jars. You guys probably recognize these if you do any canning. And I found these really cute little ones last week when I was in Walmart, and so I picked up a couple of these also.
Miniature mason jars.
Yes.
Those are adorable. Adorable. Adorable.
So we're going to fill. You want to leave a little bit at the top, maybe about a half an inch or so. As you can see, this recipe does make a lot. So if you're using little jars like this, you're going to be able to make a lot of them.
It's also good making them in little jars because you find you don't waste as much.
Okay, our jars are full, our lids are on. I did take the time to take a damp cloth and wipe down all the jars as I was putting the lids on, just to make sure there's nothing on the outside of them. The one thing that I do need to stress is once it's done, you need to leave it sit for 24 hours to help to set, you know, for the chemicals and stuff to set, not chemicals, the ingredients to set, thank you.
We're not trying to poison anybody.
But the ingredients to set, and then you can put it in your freezer. The other thing I do want to mention is I use the baby food jars on the freezer recipe. I would not use the baby food jars if you're doing the regular cooking recipe, because you need to seal those jars. These have already been unsealed because they're used. They, you know, originally had baby food in them, and I don't think you would get a tight enough seal trying to reuse them. So I would not do that if you're going to use the regular cooking recipe. But that is it. As you can see, it made a really good batch, and we have fresh strawberry jam.